Will we raise the full retirement age for Social Security again? We've done it before. Will we do it again? Social Security is not doing so hot, and there's talk of raising the full retirement age, the age at which you can get your full benefits. And what's going on in another part of the world right now can give us insight as to whether or not doing so will go over well with our country and the people that will be affected. Let me bring in my co-host, Tony Shore, to talk about this. Tony, welcome to the show.
Oh, welcome, Dan Wendell, to the show. I love it. Thanks for having me on your show, Dan. You are amazing.
You're nervous because we're talking about Social Security, and I know that usually puts you to sleep.
I'm bucking for a raise is what I'm doing.
This is the most popular topic on my podcast is Social Security topics. So I think this might be a popular one, but I got to bring the bad news, Tony. This is not news for the listeners watching. They know this. The last 11 trustee reports have indicated that the Social Security Trust Fund reserves would become depleted between 2033 and 2035. So that's not news. And that's
no.
Link below to those watching. You can get that directly from ssa.gov, which is the Social Security Administration.gov. And it's about solvency. And we know it's not looking good. The trajectory is not looking good.
Right.
So what are we going to do about it? We need a fix. Now, before we get into today's show about fixing it by raising the retirement age and what's going on in the country and the world, I'll put it up here for the viewers on YouTube. We did a show in the past about going online, taking a survey about what you think would be the best way to solve Social Security, and then you can email the results directly to your local representative in Congress. So I think it's really important to watch that show if you want to get involved. But for the most part, we're observers here on what happens.
Right.
And now what I want to do, Tony, is I want you to imagine yourself in a French bistro. Okay? You're eating a croissant. You're sipping some French wine. And the music comes to a halt.
French
coffee.
Espresso. Yeah.
Yes. So what's going on in France, Tony? Have you heard what's going on in France in early 2023? You haven't, have you? You don't watch the news. French President Macron has a proposal to raise the retirement age from 62 years old to 64 years old.
And there's rioting in the streets because of it.
Rioting in the streets.
I saw it. I know what's going on.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I like to keep my ear to the ground, especially about what's going on in France.
I know. Now, listen, before you start jumping on the listeners, I'm talking to you, before you start saying 62, they can retire at 62 right now?
Yeah.
64?
Yeah, they buried the lead. I can't believe they're rioting in the streets because they raised the full retirement age 2 years from 62 to 64. And they must love to retire early. That's for sure.
There's more to this. They're requiring the number of years you have to work to get your full pension, I think from 42 to 43.
Oh, okay.
So it's really got people up in arms.
Whereas we only have to work 35 and we don't even have to work that. You can get some type of Social Security.
You only need to work 10, really.
Yeah, 10
years over the course of.
That's the flip side. They have to work 42 years now.
You know, and so they are in a similar situation where they're going into a deficit.
Sure.
The government is arguing, the president and however they make their rules, their government is arguing that they're going to be in a deficit within a decade. Basically because the population is aging out and less younger people are working. And more people are living longer, so they're getting the French pension.
Same problems we have. Those are the same problems we have.
Right, same exact problems. Now, the French pension is different than the Social Security system. In fact, the French pension is very different than even European countries. It's different than, I think, Germany and Britain, it's like 67, like us. But in France, it's a lot lower. But we're not going to sit here and debate how socialist France is. we're going, or whether or not they have a good plan or not. I want to learn from what is happening in the streets right now, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And how it relates to if we were to raise the retirement age, which we did in the early 80s under Reagan.
Yeah. And people didn't riot in the streets. People did not riot in the streets.
So what is going on? And I took this from The Guardian. The link is below if you're watching on YouTube. More than 1.2 million march in France over this plan to raise the pension age to 64. They are literally on the street. This is the 6th time since the beginning of 2023 that the trade unions are calling for a nationwide strike and demonstrations. We got garbage trucks. We got the rail system.
Yeah.
We got the shipping lanes. All the unionized jobs in France are shutting down. And it's not just in Paris, it's throughout the country. And here's a quote from the Railway Workers branch of the CGT trade union. He said, the idea, quote, the idea is to bring France to a standstill.
Why would they want to do that? And why don't they get that if they're mad because they're raising the full retirement age, but don't they realize that if they don't do that, they're going to start getting smaller checks because the government can't afford to keep paying it? It doesn't make sense. I mean,
here we are, Tony. So for the same reason why U.S. citizens get mad anytime we talk about changing Social Security.
Right.
You hear the politicians say, I'm going to keep Social Security and I'm going to save Social Security from the evil Democrats, evil Republicans. And they both sides, both major parties say, I'm not touching this. We're keeping it. That's a contract we made and it's sacred. It's the third rail in politics.
It is the third rail of politics. Yep.
But you damn well know that if we don't do anything as a country, I just put it up here. I'll put it up here again. We're going to be insolvent.
I suppose people think that they should shore it up another way using monies from somewhere else rather than raising the age, right? I mean, that's why people are because it's not logical to say, you know, if the government's saying if we don't do this, our Social Security system will fail, and then people riot, well, you can't do that. But it doesn't make sense because you still want Social Security. So what do? Well, I guess the only other option, rather than to make changes to Social Security, they're going to hurt the people who use it or affect them, make it worse for them, would be to take, I mean, the government, you know, Biden's trying to pass a $6 trillion budget, right? 6-point-some trillion dollar budget he announced. How about proposing $6 trillion for the Social Security fund? Then they won't have to raise the age, right? I mean,
it's
you know what I mean.
It's crazy. I mean, when's the last time our country had a balanced budget? Gingrich, Clinton, I think. Like,
it was Clinton,
right? We keep spending more and more, and this idea is, you can't spend your way out of this problem we're facing. It's a demographic problem.
That's true.
People are aging, same as France. People are same everywhere. People are aging and living longer and getting more Social Security, and less people are putting in.
So you're saying it's my grandfather's fault because he lived to 101.
It is.
He lived to 101.
The system was designed for your grandfather to pass away at 67 or something.
Yeah.
And he lived to 102, 101.
Yeah. 101.
So he's what, can you give us your grandfather's address so we can all write a letter? I know he passed away, but someone's got to take the hit, right?
Yeah.
So no one wants to touch it, right? And so when you do, and by the way, the French president ran on fixing Social Security or their pension.
Yeah.
That was one of his ideals. And he got voted in by the people, by the majority of the people.
Sure.
Yet a majority of the people, something like 60 or 70%, are against any changes to this pension. So it's kind of like, it's a moral dilemma.
Yeah.
It's a not in my backyard type thing. Oh yeah, sure. So what do they suggest? What are the people on the street suggesting? So I read these articles from The Guardian, which is a liberal leaning newspaper organization.
I like the Guardian, but yeah.
Of course you do, because you're liberal. But
right.
But again, what's the alternative? And the people are saying, and the government's saying, if we don't do anything, we're going to run out. Like, that's going to happen. Right. So what do you suggest we do? And the unions are all like, well, don't lower my benefits, because I put into it all these years. Don't ruin it for me. And just like in the United States, we're like, well, if we do make changes, it's going to be for the younger generation. You know, we're not going to, anyone on Social Security now is not going to see a cut. They will if we do nothing. And they're suggesting, well, we got to tax the rich and the corporations and have them put more in. Okay.
So raise the Social Security tax. So raise the Social Security tax for employers, so they pitch in more. Companies are paying in more.
The companies, and then also,
or make it based on wealth, like
higher earners. Yes.
Yeah. Make Elon Musk and pay more.
Right. Elon Musk pays Social Security tax on the first, like, say, call it $140,000 of income. And then after that, no tax goes into Social Security. So there's a lot of ways to fix this problem. And I always say, you got to do them all. You can't just say, we're going to raise the retirement age. You also have to raise the taxes. You have to do all of them at once to shore this thing up. And it all should be based on the life expectancy of people living longer. Yeah. The life expectancy of people born today is probably close to 100. The life expectancy of people when it was made in 1938 was probably 60 something. Yeah. So we have.
But my grandfather would blow that out of the water.
Right. And
he was only
outliers.
He wasn't even supposed to live till 70, according to the government back then. Yeah.
Right. So we have a problem, but as soon as you go to make a fix, look what happens. So France is up against it right now. They are literally rioting in the streets. They're marching, they're picketing, they're boycotting. The city's shutting down. I think Charles de Gaulle Airport, the 40% of their airline flights coming in were just flat out canceled because union workers are running the airport. Union workers are running the shipping and the streets and the cleanup and the, transportation. And they're just like, you know what? We don't agree with this, so we're going to stop and we're going to make the government feel the pain. And so what's the government saying? Well, what they are saying, which could happen here, is they're going to say, well, we can do a special session of our government and just pass it without going through the proper channels. I know, how much I hate that. We did that with COVID. Oh, we just, special rules, executive orders. I don't like those. Yeah. You have to fight. You have, and so he did not get a majority vote in that country. So the government can't just pass things willy nilly. I think the Republicans, I don't know what they call them in French.
The Conservative Party.
Right. So they actually have some power here, even though they don't represent a majority. They can say yay or nay on this. So they're going to push for different things. So it's the same thing. We can learn from the French. We could see what they do.
For maybe the first time ever. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Come on.
I'm a big NHL fan, so I have a lot of friends from Montreal. So that's French in my eyes.
Oh yeah, Quebec.
But in reality, Tony, what do you think? Do you think that, let's say that Biden next week said, you know what, we're raising the full retirement age from currently 67, we're going to raise it to 70, starting in 2030.
They're already talking about it.
They are. So what if
I just read an article 2 days ago?
What if Congress? What if the House of Representatives said, "This is our thing. We're going to do 70," and everyone, more like the Senate. Let's say the Senate says we're going to do this. What do you think would happen? What do you think the people would do? And I say the people, the average U.S. citizen.
I think the media would play it up to be this crazy thing and it would rile people up, but I don't know that there would be the shutdown and the protest on that level where they try to shut down the country. I don't think we're so much bigger, and it's, we have fewer unions, so it's not as organized, for better or worse. So I don't think that would happen. I think we've been talking about it long enough. The majority of people know, especially in our age group, those who aren't yet retired but are, those in retirement don't care because they're already there and it's grandfathered in, and that doesn't matter. So it's only those who are mainly, 50 plus, that sweet spot between 40 and 55. I think those are the people who would care, but they're not going, but they know this is coming. I think they know. I think we're all, I'm just like, yeah, they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to do something.
Yeah, but you know more about Social Security than 99% of the people out there, right? Because we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And
hashtag Dan Wendell, hashtag Social Security.
People are still learning about, I can get it at 60 if I'm widowed, or, I don't get it all at 62. I have to wait till 67. And they don't even know you can wait till 70. I saw a newscaster the other day talking about it and say, the latest you can claim is 67. I wrote to the editor and said, no, you can wait till 70. And so I think there's your idea that everyone's aware of this. I don't agree. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised.
Yeah.
And, but I don't think people care. They just don't get involved.
Right.
There's
too much other things going on, and it's apathy, and the people who it's gonna affect the most don't always have the voice, right? So,
the younger crowd would be the one that gets impacted the most. But then again, if they don't, it's not going to be around for them. I've seen articles lately of people, and I've seen this myself. People will take it at 62 at the earliest they could take their own, because they're like, it's going to run out anyway. I might as well get it while it's there. And that's not the
unless
right
all this is in a popular, unless all this is in a popular TikTok video, the younger group isn't going to see it.
Well, look what happened with Occupy Wall Street. Remember that? There was a lot of young people. Yeah. We had
that's true.
The Black Lives Matter and Kufa rioting. Those were a lot of young people. If you look at the march, or what is that? The January 6th, what do they call that? The insurrection or march on the Capitol. There was a lot of young people in there. The guy with the bear suit on or whatever. He didn't look that old.
The shaman.
The shaman. So this isn't, Social Security is for older people, right? By default. Also, there's for disabled people. So those can be any age. So it impacts everybody. Would we have 1 million people shutting down DC and New York City and the big cities? Would we have that?
No.
I don't think our unions are as strong as those in France. So, but it could happen. I saw an article recently that New York City is changing their health insurance. And the actual union is changing the health insurance, and the union members are fighting against the union bosses to say, we don't like this. So it doesn't take much to get people riled up.
That's true.
And
that's true.
And I think that it is potentially an outcome for us to be like France if we try and slam down some sort of Social Security change. I don't see any violence in France right now. It's not, but it's really crippling the country. That could happen. So,
or cuts to Medicare or Social Security.
Right.
You didn't think we were going to talk about France today, did you?
God bless Social Security.
I did not.
So, demographics are changing. It's straining our Social Security system. No one's going to debate that. And I think that's what you're saying. Everyone knows that the system is shot, right? We all know. Right. We've been getting a warning forever. Then again, we've been getting warnings about global warming, and Florida's going to be underwater for decades too, and we don't seem to do anything. But we know the math on Social Security, and it's real, right? So we know
that's hard numbers right there.
It's hard numbers. It's, and by any math equation, it's not looking good. So there are a lot of different ways to fix it. But as soon as you make a change that impacts me, people tend to be selfish. They tend to be against changes, even if it's for the greater good. And that's a different philosophical discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But I think in this country, a lot of people care about what's happening to their wallet and themselves rather than the greater good. And Social Security is definitely a greater good system. It does not favor the wealthy. It favors those that don't make a lot or that don't make anything. They're disabled. So are they going to have the wherewithal and the time to fight for their right on this? I don't know. So we'll see. But I'm going to put this warning out to everybody. If you're going to be one of these people that march against the change, just know that I'm for it. I'm for people voicing their opinion. I'd rather you go online, do some research, and contact your local representative and tell them what you think should happen with Social Security.
And write a letter to the editor of the newspaper, send that to them, hit people through the politicians, through the media, and that's how you do it.
Yes. And you can even use the tactic of, look what's going on over there in France. We're better than that. I don't want that happening here. Let's solve it now.
Yeah.
So that we can not be there in a year or two, because it's coming up, Tony. We got 10 years, I think less. This is like warning bells going off. When we started this podcast years ago, it was like, oh, it's 20 years away, 15 years away. Now it's less than 10. It's getting serious. I think people need to step up and do something. I'm trying to do my part by educating people on it. I am contacting my local reps and saying, hey, we got to do something. And if that trickles up or filters up, maybe we'll get something done. Burying the head in sand is just not going to work. Right. Nothing against France or French people, but I don't want to be having that happen here. That's just crazy. So there you go. You know what? I'm going to quote from one of your favorite movies, and that includes one of your favorite actors, A European Vacation. I think I'm going to say, Tony, you're what the French call les incompetents.
Ouch. Super hurtful, Dan.
Thanks for a good show. We'll catch you next week. Au revoir.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.